I want to give you all a couple tips and techniques that I use when it comes to shooting HDR photography. Now, generally when I approach a scene or when I set up to do an HDR photograph, I'm setting up my camera on its tripod and I'll be there for a little while because I'm waiting for the light or just for the conditions to be just right to shoot that photograph. Now during that time, I'm taking shots, and my biggest pet peeve is when my focus changes from the correct focus of my subject to something that's incorrect in the shot, because the autofocus is changing every time I depress the shutter. Now in this situation, my favorite technique to use is to do this. Basically with the camera on its tripod, I'm going to find my subject and I'm going to focus on the subject using simply my autofocus in the camera, setting it to the correct focal point and focusing on that object. Once I have that focus dialed in and I verify that it's correct and it's nice and tack sharp, I switch the autofocus on the lens to manual focus. Now at this point, we've essentially locked the focus because now the focus is only going to change on the lens if I were to actually adjust the focal ring itself, but it's not going to change when I depress the shutter. Some of you might be asking, well, Pi, why not just use the camera's autofocus lock feature? Because every DSLR does have a focus lock feature where you can essentially press a button and it's going to lock the focus throughout a certain period of duration, basically, until you press that button again. Well, here's the thing. For me, I'm shooting on a lot of different types of DSLRs frequently, okay? I'm shooting on anything between a 5D3, a 5D2, a D700, D800, a Rebel, whatever it is that I might have in my hands. They all function a little bit differently in regards to the autofocus lock feature. I hate using the autofocus lock and then finding out halfway through my shots that it actually switched back to focus because I used it incorrectly. I hate having to try and figure out, okay, how do I do it on the Nikon versus on the Canon? It's just annoying to me. So I kind of use this old school manual way of doing it, where we're basically just locking the focus on the lens itself. I know how to do it on every single camera, and I don't have to worry about this software focus lock ever basically unlocking in the middle of my shoot. Now, one other technique that's great for basically finding your focus the first time is to focus manually, and what you do is you turn on your camera's live view. With the live view, you can magnify and zoom into whatever it is that you're shooting, whatever your subject is. You'd zoom into, say, 5 or 10 times magnification and just simply adjust the focal ring until that object is completely sharp. Once again, you do this in manual focus, so you wouldn't need to actually have the autofocus on to do this. And then once you're done, you just don't touch your ring anymore. You can recompose till your head falls off, however you like it, guys. But basically, your focus isn't going to change the entire time. So hopefully these tips help you guys out a little bit as far as focusing when shooting your HDR photographs. And let's head on to the next video.